in duel, so we'll wait and see what Rapha selects. A lot of players, I think, at this level of play, they go with the traditional, right? They go with what works, and if they have a champion they feel works as well. Now, here's the Athena pick.
A little bit different, actually. Yeah, interesting. And the Doom guy with Baby on board, very important to note that.
Yeah, Doomslayer, so popular in Blood Covenant, Slash for the same reason. It's more just mobility, right? You can sort of get around the top of that map. Doomslayer does it effectively well. Slash, Toxic, I mean, this is the Quake 4 god with the Quake 4 champion. Of course, we're going to see it. And finally with the BJ, which does actually interest me quite a lot. You know, BJ's definitely not the champion he once was. There's a little bit of more wind-up time when he pops out the dual wield, so you can't just kind of pop it in the middle of a fight. You've got to be a little bit more preemptive rather than reactive. And then the Ranger. So there's going to be a lot of mobility on both sides. I am very, very excited to see Toxic go in with the Slash here. I think Toxic banning Anarchy means that, you know, it definitely appears that, you know, Anarchy's movement is a little bit easier to adapt than Slash's, right? Yep. And I really strongly will always think that Toxic has the best Slash in the world, which means that now, if he wants ultimate speed, no one can keep up with him.
Yep, and let's see how well he can skate around Blood Covenant. This is going to be map number 1 of the semis here. Rapha versus Tox. Gonna get right into it and follow Rapha.
Now, Athena is, I think, that the champion we're going to be sort of keeping our eyes on. You know, she's one of the newer champions in the game. She was released just before Aizen. And she's very tricky to play at the highest level of play. Now, that grappling hook, getting Rapha around pretty happily there. But we'll see if it's going to work out here. As now it's Slash on the flip side from Toxic. There's going to be a ton of mobility on the table.
Yeah, really, really high-flying, fast-paced action here as Rapha slows it down, trying to catch out Tox. Here's that skating. There it is. Here's the grapple hook straight into the LG. Gets popped up. Good grapple away. And Athena has that high escapability with those grapples. He needs to make sure that he keeps those time shards on lock so he can keep those up.
And the grapple almost, you know, sort of doubles up as both an offensive and defensive attack at the same time. You know, Rapha, it's very hard for Toxic to get that consistent aim on him, especially even those kind of rocket fights. You can notice in these 1v1s, Rapha is pretty much bolting straight in. Kind of overwhelming, I think, even for someone as good accuracy-wise as Toxic.
Yeah, the damage was a little bit nerfed on it, but absolutely still offensive. You can get up close and personal, and with that shotgun, it can be extremely deadly here. So Rapha looking for that rail, gonna miss and just take the 50 back down to LG and Mega.
I think it was a good choice from Rapha to go in with the Athena first. If Toxic's going Slash on Blood Covenant, there's a pretty good chance he's gonna pick her first, you know, dare I say, every single time, because you know, you get an early item so quickly. Get that control established, especially if he spawns near rail side, he can really start hitting those miracle angles. And yeah, Rapha, really famous for those fantastic rockets at this stage.
Almost gets another one there, misses with the rail. Toxic fortunate to get out of that situation here, but he might get caught out by the heavy. Little LG comes out. Toxic doing really well to defend himself here, but Rapha will get the better of him, 37 HP after that engagement.
There's a perfect sequence there from Rapha, using the grappling hook to pretty much beat him to the punch on the heavy. You can see almost immediately why he picked this champion on this map. Speaking of which, he's going to go in and do a little bit of entry damage. Rockets as well. Excellent rail. Rapha takes a second champion and making magic things happen with Athena.
Yeah, and that grapple hook so strong. Oh no, needs to get out of here though. The fadeaway rail won't hit. Very fortunate to survive. We'll get the heavy, has some health to work with. But yeah, over down by the pillars, he used that grapple to actually grab the 25 and the 50 shard and then get back into the fight. So that mobility really doing damage to Toxic, and so is that rocket as the grapple hook straight into his face, like we mentioned, and Rapha takes round number 1.
Well, there's some people that are like, you know, we haven't really seen Athena too much at Dreamhack, and why? And I think the answer is that she is tricky. She is a very, very tricky champion to play at the highest level, but this is Rapha we're talking about, the highest level on him. I mean, that's it. That's what you expect. Now he's been picking the champion again, and I would not be surprised if he doesn't go Athena first every single round here.
You can just get so much mobility off that instant UPS with that grapple hook on the ground. And here comes the shaft from Toxic. Actually, good damage on Rapha. Rapha trying to survive with these rockets. The grapple hook will not let him escape this time, and Toxic takes him down early.
There's always going to be the negative of trying to have one of those rocket fights when you don't have the high ground here. You can't really rely on splash damage at all, and if it's going to be Toxic and he's moving around as fast as he is, those directs would have been super hard to land as well. A very fortunate fight for Toxic to take, and he's got rid of the Athena early. We very well could see a complete reverse of momentum here now, as Toxic's going to have the complete speed advantage, especially against Doomslayer.
Yeah. A rocket launcher's greatest enemy is stairs here, as Rapha with a good rail. Toxic trying to assess with machine gun, push him out, and will do so. Taking his time to go back up to the bridge and maybe line up a shot here.
But one thing to notice now is now Toxic has the champion advantage. He can now start to slow the game down if he wants to. because LG has always been phenomenal as well, and Doomslayer does not like LG whatsoever, especially seeing as he's constantly airborne. Toxic's having to be careful because he is railable. You can see Rapha pressing the advantage here, laying on a little bit of pressure to try and keep Toxic, I think, at the bottom of the map. You know, keep him where he can sort of keep him at arm's reach. Speaking of which, nice friction rail.
Good
So sit there and listen out for it, yeah. You can just see here, Toxic's trying to give Rapha as little information as possible. He's pretty content, I think, allowing Rapha to stack up just a little bit. You know, Toxic, now he's got his rail, we kind of rely on just getting those really wonderful little angles. And if he gets a good prediction where Rapha's going to be on the map, do a little bit of damage here, there, before the engagement happens later on.
Yeah, as you said, champ advantage for Toxin. He loves to be in that position because he dictates the exact pace of the game here, as he will miss the initial rail and instantly backs off. Doesn't want to get caught out here. A little bit of a slash trail for insurance. Rapha pushing the issue here with a little bit of LG. The rocket will actually miss. Toxic will get the mega. It looks like he might be able to escape here, taking a little bit of tribal damage. Make that a lot. Ooh. 30 HP, needs to be careful here. Does have a 50 shard to work with. Drops down into the LG. The rails will miss, and Toxic surviving, hanging by a thread.
I'm a really big fan of just how aggressive Rapha is actually being in this situation. Toxic in an unfortunate position now, hasn't got any rockets left, so if there is an up-close fight, which doesn't even need to happen because Rapha's going to get the re-entry rail through the teleporter. And that was really well played, understanding that you can't really let Toxic run away and restack because at the end of the day, Slash is incredibly fast. Very, very easy for her to kind of run around and get those small health bubbles. But not a problem anymore, as now it's going to be Galena.
There's the switch to LG here. Rapha trying to trap on the Mega. Won't get enough damage and will back off after a little bit of a tickle here. Misses the initial rail attempt there. Just doesn't pull the trigger, but will have the heavy, and he's going to be okay with that. 2 minutes left in the round, and we're all tied up on champs.
Interesting to see who's actually going to make the first move. Could be Meg. Actually, kind of look like Rapha sort of caught slightly off guard a little bit, but can he win the OG? No way!
11 HP, and that air rocket will not land. And yeah, that was a bit of a goofy initiation at first, kind of like, what are you doing here? But Rapha gets the best of him, now has a champ advantage. Does need to stack back up as the time is ticking, and that rail is going to absolutely cripple Rapha. The follow-up will not hit. Rapha hanging on by a thread here is going to double jump away and try and slow this down.
But that's the benefit of Doomslayer on Blood Covenant, is those angles right there where it's, you know, one side near jump pad to the other. Doomslayer can make that jump super easily. It's going to take significantly longer for BJ to chase that. And Toxic's going to opt to go back and chase it down. Going up for ground rocket's not going to work out. The rail misses as well, which is unfortunate. Rapha still has a decent, I think he has a good fighting chance with the stack that he's currently working with.
Doing a good job. Those defensive rockets here. A minute left in the round. All the pressure's on Toxic here. And you can't help but feel like he needs to start hitting these rails. We saw Toxic PGL against Cooler actually suffer a little bit because he wasn't hitting those initial rails. He's going to drop straight in the LG from Rapha to try and keep him out here. And Tox backs away, but time is ticking. Needs to try and stack back up. That Mega's going to be a good start, but he needs to start attacking as soon as possible.
Yeah, it was a good choice from Toxic to not really push too hard in that fight. He knows that if he chased it, theoretically, yes, he could have got some of those rockets in close range, but ultimately, if he's falling down, Rapha has such a high chance of landing those directs. The preemptive dual wield has been forced, getting a little bit of entry damage, but it's not going to be anything that Rapha's going to be particularly worried about yet. He still has the Berserk too, and it's not going to be for the fight potential of the Berserk now. With 20 seconds left, that means that Doomslayer can run away, get that instant burst of speed, and BJ won't be able to catch him. Now we're on the 10-second moment. I kind of reckon this should be Rapha's round. There's a significant amount of distance between them. The Berserk can be used to run away if need be, but at this stage, Rapha doesn't even need it. He's chasing it down and misses the rail. That's unfortunate. It's going to be a frag at the end, but at the end of the day, that round was lost regardless.
Yep, didn't really have a choice, had to push the issue, but the nails will take him down. And again, he's just missing these rails that he needs so bad. Rapha's out-railing him currently, which you wouldn't really expect against Toxic.
Yeah, especially on Blood Covenant. You know, the Toxic, it really sort of has put his trademark on this map, especially in Quake Champions. I'll keep sort of bringing back Dreamhack last year, exactly a year ago, really. This was a level of dominance that I think we had rarely seen in Quake Champions, was when Toxic just destroys people on this map. Unfortunately, we're not really able to see that the same level of, I guess, like, warmness from Toxic. He's missing almost every single rail, and it's just allowing Rapha to run rampant and do what he wants.
Yeah, knowing that you're not going to take that damage, you can take those open fights, as we saw, just cessing with machine gun, doing an immense amount of damage. Here comes the grapple hook. Make that too, as he wants to chase this. Misses with that rocket. That would have been incredible here, but he's going to hold the high ground, and Mega's going to be up. He's going to try and figure out where Toxic is going, and look at this. He's going to attack and leave the Mega up here and get that damage in. That was a good initial rail. does have a hookup now. As he was looking up, he was like, wait a minute, I don't have these anymore?
He's now going to sort of retreat back and pick up the Mega. A really good choice. I really love this champion pick from Rapha. I've got to say, like, the Athena is such a, what kind of looks like a wonderful answer to Slash. Toxic and Slash in this map was so famous for essentially just running rings around people that no one could catch him, but Athena just has that exact answer that Rapha was looking for. And that's, Rapha's a scientist of the game, right? You know, he's not afraid to pick map-specific champions. Wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't pick Athena every single time. It just depends on what he wants out of the match. He's not going to go with a set pool of, oh, I will always go with these two champions, like some players do. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but Rapha,
look at these rails. I cannot get over how Rapha's out-railing him. 3 for 20 on Toxic's end right now. Only hitting 15% while Rapha's hitting 55%, and that is going to haunt Toxic.
I mean, that's just bad odds at the end of the day. And it's uncharacteristic of Toxic, it must be said.
I mean, I'm used to seeing those numbers, but not on Toxic. When I hit tab when I'm playing, I see that.
It's like when you were playing earlier before we went live.
Absolutely, yeah. I was lucky to hit that earlier.
Well, Rapha's sitting on a wonderful level of control. There's a nice little delay in between Mega and Heavy as well, which means that Rapha can kind of set his sights on the Heavy as the next objective. But I think Tox looks a little bit, I don't know, he's kind of sitting up near rail. Doesn't want to push too hard towards that Heavy. Kind of knowing that Rapha can get in and out using those grappling hooks, especially now he has 3. One of them has just been popped here. And now he has the control. Toxic can't fight for this Heavy now, especially now he's as weak as he is. Rapha should be able to be rewarded with a kill. He's going to use it to try and loop around, but watch out. Heavy machine gun swap. Is that going to be enough to save him? Toxic takes away the Heavy, but I feel like that's going to be a small little reward, I suppose, that at least Rapha didn't get the Heavy, but he lost his champion anyway.
Yeah, take what you can get there, but that was a very good play from Rapha. Knowing when to be aggressive, closing the gap and getting the frag. Needs to be careful going up the jump pad. 2 quick rockets from Toxic, and now Rapha's in trouble. Needs to escape towards his 50. The grapple hook up to the rail will connect on the second try. Misses with that rail. A little bit of machine gun coming out from Tox, trying to hold his position, and a good fadeaway rail again, keeping that damage up.
Tox is still in a bit of a difficult position though, where just because he has armor, his HP situation's still not the best. We can see now he's starting to regenerate a little bit. Center of the map with the blood pool, which is good stuff, but Rapha constantly on a really impressive stack. And just kind of take a look at the top left of the screen. There's still a pretty substantial delay between those major pickups. Trying to see maybe is he trying to delay towards Mega potentially, but yeah, he's not going to be there. Toxic just playing so reserved. You know, just dare I say a little bit nervous almost, like he's just walking around the entire map. He doesn't want to give Rapha an ounce of information.
Yeah, can't really afford to make any mistakes here. 1 minute 20 left, and he is down a champ, so the plays have to be perfect here. As Rapha has a gigantic stack on that Athena, making his way over to the pillars here. Can he catch out Toxic?
Well, taking out the totem on top of the obvious audio cue of the rockets, going to give Toxic a bit of information. Knows he can at least run towards rail, and I do like that slow play. He's been able to stack back up really, really well. However, it's the 100 damage rockets. Rapha's rockets have just been out of this world the whole tournament. Whether it's the reactionary rockets in the middle of the fight, or whether it's just mostly prediction rockets. He's making such an amazing call on just where people are going to be, and he's hitting the max damage, which is just a perfect decision.
Another misrail from Tox, and again, as the time is ticking, close to 30 seconds left in the round, the defensive rocket from Rapha's fantastic. The follow-up will not hit, but he can just play defensive 30 seconds and counting. Toxic needs to try and close the gap and get this frag.
And Toxic, the big thing here is going to be those rails. He needs to land those entry rails because Galena is nowhere near going to be able to compete with the speed of Athena. It's just not even close. Unfortunately, a wonderful rocket comes through again. Toxic, dangerously low now.
Wow.
There's the tri-bolt. My God, that hurts so much. But with 10 seconds left, I mean, surely he can't win now.
Yeah, I don't see this happening. Here comes the nail gun cess again that we saw over by the rockets, and with 3 seconds left, that's going to be it. What a first map for Rapha, dominating 3-0 on Blood Covenant, and you can't help but think those rails cost him most of those frags, right? The lack of entries from Toxic, not landing the shots, not being able to defend. Yeah, I think he was shooting 13%. Yeah, 13% rails. That's not good.
That was 4 out of 29, and I've got to say that they're stats that we are not used to seeing from Toxic whatsoever. But the worrying thing here is that that was Toxic's instant map pick. That was the first map choice. It is one of his, dare I say, absolute best map in duel, and you rarely see Toxic lose on this map as well. I would be very, very, very concerned of both the fact that he lost and just how one-sided it seemed. Because now, I believe, if memory serves me right, it's going to be the Veil of Nath as the next choice, where we're probably going to get some champion changes. I don't think Rapha's going to go with the exact same lineup, but it just seemed like Rapha was on an entirely different level. I don't know whether it's first game of the day. I don't know whether toxjq needs to warm up, but what he needs to do right now is wake up.
Yeah, he definitely needs to turn this around on the second map here. I really like the Athena play. I don't know if Tox wasn't ready for the aggressiveness, but again, like just hitting those rails would have changed the momentum immensely for toxjq.
It would have 100%. Actually, saw him blowing into his mouse there. Like, either way, we'll see what happens.
Did he get one of his beard hairs in his mouse? Because that happens to me all the time. That's a thing. That's a problem.
I mean, the thing is, like, maybe, like, for all we know, maybe toxjq is having. I promise, I'm not making excuses here. 100%. I love both these guys.
We're men of science, all right? We're just coming up with stuff.
Hey, if man's gonna blow into his mouse, then there might be something unfortunately going on. That said, Veil of Nath, we see two Galenas immediately. She really is. This is like a map that she was crafted for. It feels. Iceland's gonna be pretty much the same, being able to shut down a lot of those teleporters and mostly slowing down your momentum. And now toxjq's going in with the Saw lag. I actually do like this pick. Because it's just, and Death Knight for very, very similar reasons. Now, Saw lag, she has one of the bigger hitboxes in the game. She's a bit easier to hit. However, Veil of Nath is so close range that Acid is going to both do area denial, giving toxjq a lot of information, and it's just the raw damage that the Acid Spit's going to do. And I think Death Knight will serve a similar purpose with the flames instead of the Acid.
Yeah, good burst damage. Again, not what it once was, a little bit nerfed, but still, nonetheless, those fireballs are going to burn as we get into the map number 2 of Veil of Nath between Tox and Rapha. Can Tox turn it around? Can he start hitting some rails, gain some momentum? We'll find out as we're going to go live. Also looking forward to seeing what champ he's going to start off. I think he's going to come out with Sorbet right off the bat.
Well, actually, it looks to me like you were correct. Now, he's going Saw lag first. A good spawn actually near the Mega, so just an impressive stack already. Super Shotgun too. That's a dangerous combination, having Acid Spit and Shotgun at close range will pretty much melt your health away. No pun intended, I know we're surrounded by Acid. But on the subject of the Acid, let's not forget that Saw lag's passive of being immune to Acid damage means that some of these kind of like paths that you might take towards some of the items here, no damage taken. toxjq can just run in and out as he pleases.
Yeah, it's just that annoying little damage when you're trying to get health and jump over the rail and you clip a little bit of the acid that'll add up over time, and you don't have to worry about that at all with Sorlag, which is nice. Just roaming the map free here as we see toxjq trying to catch out Rapha, moving down towards this rail room. Let's see if he can land some of these rails.
It is a bit of a change from what we normally see on Veil. Galena gets picked for a reason. So often it's a battle of who controls the high ground first, because it's almost a complete guaranteed chance that using a teleporter is going to result in damage, because there's going to be a totem there. There's nothing you can do to stop it. That said, I think toxjq must have heard the turret being summoned, immediately pulling a hard left, and unfortunately going in for the up-close fight, and Rapha being ready for it.
Yeah, tried to get the jump on him and just got caught out there. The rocket's phenomenal from Rapha. And again, he's going to get caught out at the top in the turret for a little bit of insurance there. Just a buddy cop film for Rapha here. 2 quick frags.
It just feels to me like, and this actually should be a fight in his favor too. Going straight in for the rocket, it's not going to work, unfortunately. Very, very, very quick round indeed. But it feels like Iceland and Galena, they serve similar purposes on this map, whereas, one is immediate, almost like burst damage, and the turret is just a pain in the backside, hitting you from a little bit further away. The turret was a bit of a problem the second toxjq re-added. He pulled that hard left to try and sort of outrun its projectiles, and it still didn't work. And now it's going to be an unfortunate 2 versus 1 as he's going to pop the turret down, not only for damage, but to block the rocket pickup.
Yeah, fantastic play from Rapha there. A lot of damage early with these rockets. More dunks than a Nike outlet here, but can he chase? And there it is, the turret again. It's going to haunt toxjq.
I really, really love this champion pick for Rapha on Veil. I mean, it just feels like this is Rapha's map anyway, and we can see why. toxjq just having a hard time getting around the strategy of just blocking off every single pickup. The fights are going in Rapha's favor as well. His rockets have been impeccable. And Rapha controls the high ground again. He doesn't even need, he's like deliberately going in for heavy because he knows that toxjq realistically can't go for it. It's suicide. So now we can just get the Mega. There's a little bit of a delay. Rapha has full control now. Oh no.
Again, getting caught out of the rockets. The rockets from Rapha are phenomenal. He's gonna push him out of the map. And another quick round. And what's going on, Ketchup? What's happening?
I feel like it's just Rapha having a complete closed fist on this map in particular. And there's a reason he picked it first. You know, the same way Toxic went in with Blood Covenant first because it's his strongest map. This is very much the same. Toxic's going in with Ison first this time. I do actually feel like having Sorlag first twice might have hurt Toxic, because Rapha specifically goes in with these kind of setup champions on this map to shut down those teleporters, to have the assistance. Toxic having that horrific start and giving Rapha momentum and control means that on spawn, he was struggling as well. I'm wondering if he's going to live to regret not only picking Sorlag, but picking Sorlag first 2 rounds in a row.
Let's see if he can adjust now. Ison v Ison, that German engineering going to come in handy here as Rapha gets the heavy little bit of LG tickle, but no big deal. Now there's a lot, needs to be careful going through this TP. Does throw down the totem, so it's going to be a little bit of a 2-on-1. And there it is. Toxic just gets taken down, caught out. It seems like he's really not paying mind to the turret, and it's going to do a lot of damage. I mean, you have to deal with it. You have to leave.
But he's got in with Galena again, and it's both a really, really superb spawn, actually, for Rapha to get a good mind that Toxic might appear there and ask, and you shall receive. Unfortunately, Toxic having an impossible time, but now it's Sorlag on the back foot. Sorlag on the back foot is also a pretty not too effective, I suppose, in this kind of situation, because, you know, if you catch a good spawn like Rapha has done again, it's immediate entry damage, it's easy rails, it's easy rockets, and if Rapha simply doesn't put himself at that effective range, how effective is the acid spit going to be? I mean, the acid spit was already used at this point.
3 HP, needs to be extremely careful. Is he actually going to get in on this Mega? Wow, that rocket, though. Very lucky.
I mean, dare I say that Mega that Rapha just collected might just be the death sentence here. He heard the armor get picked up. He knows exactly where Toxic is. There's no way he's going to miss these shots. Toxic cannot get out of this, and that is a one-sided map 100%.
That was so fast. That was incredibly fast as Rapha just asserts dominance. And yeah, I can't help but think maybe that Sorlag pick, not the best decision, but wow, yeah. Taking nothing away from Rapha on that one. He played phenomenal.
It's a bit of an unfortunate circumstance, because Toxic has been known in the past to really go with champions that he feels are right for the job. And I feel like, you know, last year that champion was Scalebearer. He would quite regularly pick Scalebearer in pretty questionable positions. Like, he has a phenomenal Scalebearer, and that must have been why he felt like it was a good choice. Like, he was confident in his own abilities with the champion, but it just didn't. I can't remember the last time he had a pick Scalebearer last year and it worked. I almost felt like we got shades of that with the Sorlag. We can understand the decision. It's close range. It's one of the maps where she's immune to acid, so that's a very small bonus, but it's a bonus nevertheless. And if those point-blank fights happened when the acid was ready, maybe it would have been in his favor. But he never had the acid ready to go, which was a huge problem.
Yeah, I just keep looking over at these replays, and just the turret did so much damage. Rapha got so much mileage out of it, and then also just controlling that rocket room. Maybe a little bit fortunate with the spawn, but immediate to the rockets, turrets down, and Toxic has the hardest time to try and get in on rockets. You saw him get killed like 3 or 4 times just trying to go for him.
And it's in loads of those fights as well, where Rapha would consistently throw the turret down on, like, Rocket, for example.
Yep.
And not only is the turret doing the obvious side of doing damage, but it is a physical block. It means the Toxic can no longer, there's no chance he's going to run in and beat him to the Rocket, where we sometimes see those 1v1s, especially on Veil, where if you both spawn near Rocket and you both gun it at the exact same time, whoever gets the Rocket's probably going to win the fight, right? And the turret's going to completely shut that down. Now we're going into Blood Run, which is, I think, the most defensive map that we see, and Toxic being one of the slowest paced players, this might be a chance for him to potentially slow things down and get back in the fight. But with how one-sided both of these other maps have been, I'm kind of concerned. I would not be surprised if this could turn out to be a 3-0.
Yeah, very well may happen, but Toxic, this is his last chance. No other choice here as Galena and Ison over on his side. Galena Ranger for Rapha, and what is going to be the anchor pick here for both players?
Well, the Ranger on Blood Run, very effective. The Orb, just for mobility alone, right? Being able to get to where you want to be, especially in the middle. So it's Ison as the final pick. Is Toxic going to return the favor? So it's going to be BJ again. Haven't seen much of Toxic's BJ so far. However, because it is a slow, smaller paced map, you have a lot of, I think, audio cues, don't you? Yep. So if you're sitting there and listening out for where people can sort of be, if you're trying to lay a trap, you have so much audio-based information on Blood Run that I think going for those preemptive dual wields and then setting a trap will probably be more effective on this map than others.
Yeah, it'll be a lot easier for him to do it on this map, Blood Run, rather than Blood Covenant that we saw earlier. Let's see if that BJ will work for Tox. Do or die as Rapha's up 2 maps in the series here. Can Toxic turn this around as we're going to get into it? Blood Run, I don't think people expected that.
I don't think so. I think the people at home were very, very evenly split. It was 49 to 51%, and for good reason. Toxic is a legend in his own right, and here we go. 2 rails finally. Is this the time he's woken up and is starting to land those shots that he so desperately needs?
Yeah, 2 great rails to start off, and he knows exactly where Rapha is, and they're just playing a game of chicken. They're like, are you still there? Are you still there? A little bit of tribal to try and bully Toxic off. Finally giving up on the shot and says, whatever, let me re-up. Use this totem here.
Ooh, there's some pretty effective tribal coming through. Especially seeing as Toxic. He's about to get a small armor, but with a relatively decent stack and the right weapons in hand. He has that Holy Trinity at this point. Has the rocket, LG, rail, can do exactly what he wants and misses a rail, but that was a tight shot, right? That was I don't blame you for missing that.
That
would
have been incredible if he hit that. Yeah, you can't hold that against him here. Does need to start getting these totems down so he can try and work off this overstack. There's one of them. Maybe trying to block off that doorway. Didn't really make it, but gonna hold the position on this Mega. There comes Rapha. Eats a lot of rocket damage, but does a decent rocket damage of his own. Toxic has to escape. Heavy is up, and this is gonna be what the next fight is. Good opening rail there. A little bit of tribal from Rapha. He's just gonna go in. There's the rocket jump. Super aggressive. Pins Toxic in the corner. Forces Toxic back into the nail room.
That was very well played from rapha. Just even the small decisions there, the choice to push in first, just to make sure that Toxic is nowhere to be seen on the Heavy. The Heavy is so much more dangerous to take on Blood Run now. Those changes are made to like LG and things like that. Toxic landing that rail might have been important for him, but rapha just making the better choice to press the advantage. He's now bullied him off the Mega as well, and almost like using Toxic's slow-paced game against him. He's pretty much having an easy time of bullying Toxic away from these pickups so far.
Yeah, and it looks like Toxic is trying to use these totems to, like, I don't know, almost as like grenades, right? Like, I know you're going to come here, I'm going to throw this down, but he needs to start using these, at least hiding 2 of them, so he can start working off this overstack, which is, one of Galena's strongest suits here is the tribal. A little bit of a tickle, and that gives him the information. Toxic has to be careful not to get caught out here.
Yeah, I think even a tickle of the tribal would have been unfortunate. That's a really good rocket, but the Dire Orb just says no.
And again, the turret getting a lot of mileage out of it. Oh, Toxic needs to try and utilize that as much as he can. Rapha with a good rail. That's a game of corner pressure here. Little rocket jump here and eats a rocket. Toxic with good damage. Yeah, but has to concede.
He's available at this health, especially not so anymore. He's got 100, but not a favorable position. Toxic just needs to hit that one shot that he's looking for. It's just unfortunate that rapha, he's been managing his health and armor so well, and again, like right there, just a superb rocket to shut down a lot of that momentum from Toxic now, right? One of those rockets landing is going to throw off your strafe jump pattern, it's going to slow you down, so when you come through the teleporter, you're not going to be as fast, you can't reach the items as fast as you want to either. rapha looking just super comfortable. He has 2 minutes to go now, has the champion advantage, can slow things down if he wants, which as we can clearly see he is, and because it's Blood Run, he's just listening out for those audio cues.
Yeah, and doing the damage while Toxic's getting the item. Nothing is going to be free against Rapha here, as he plays very defensive, gets a little bit of rocket damage, and just makes his way over to the nail room again. And this is probably going to be the rest of the round here, as all pressure's on Toxic.
I definitely think so. There's a reason he didn't even remotely try and press that fight. He got his defensive rocket and escape, but the chase was real. Toxic finally hits his mark. Who's Rapha going to go with next?
Galena. That was a great job by Tox to keep him out there with that LG and push him down into the banana here, and he's going to get full control off of that, but with a minute left, players need to be careful here. Next frag might do it.
Yeah, we are definitely starting to reach that danger territory, and okay. Excellent round to start things, and with the stack he was able to build before taking out rapha, because rapha, with that defensive style, was trying to concede those pickups and wasn't too concerned about it. Unfortunately, going in with that strategy is a bit of a big risk, isn't it? Because if you give up some of these pickups and then you die, you're now going to respawn with a neutral stack, and then your opponent is overstacked, which is kind of what's happening right now. That rail, very little effect. Toxic has plenty of armor now. He's near Mega as well. He's got the complete timing and rotation down, and knowing that he can just go in for the kill. Just take out the turret. It's going to waste a little bit of time, but unfortunately not enough to save rapha's day. That was a bit of an unfortunate spawn. Nowhere to run there.
Yep, Toxic doing a great job, gets around on the board, and I think he's got his confidence going. He's starting to hit more rails, and you see that leaves him open to take more fights that he wants, be aggressive, and just whip out that LG to finish these frags.
So finally, I can't believe I'm actually saying this late in the series, but finally Toxic takes a round.
Yeah. It's not every day you see this happening, but Toxic looks like he's turning it around. That's a great start here. Just waiting for that tribal. The fireworks coming through the doorway here.
Very similar spawn situation as well. Almost feels like a complete mirror image of what we saw last time. And identical timers on Mega and Heavy, which interests me. I think we'll kind of see where the next fight is going to take place. Information from the teleporter, toxjq, being very, very slow once again. Both items have spawned now, so there's the fight. Perfect patience there from toxjq. Can he go in for the kill? Tries the die roll, but no thank you. And because of the patience there, both items on the table, ready to go. I wonder if toxjq's gonna be able to try and maybe take both.
Making his way over here, looks like he's gonna miss out, but he could trap over the tri-ball. Misses with that initial rocket. That would have been great damage to work with here. But yeah, I really like the patience out of toxjq. Also, that flick rocket certainly helped over at the blood pool. And toxjq slowing it down now, champ advantage. But again, he doesn't really use these totems to try and set up any kind of overstack. He's using them, you know, just willy-nilly, it almost seems like. Which
yeah,
is
just I think one at a time before any potential fights may take place. Yeah. Also, I think this totem he's just put almost acts as like a defensive mechanism. If he gets hit by teleporter now and if he has to retreat, like, he can press the advantage here, right? And if he needs to turn back and get health from his totem, he's pretty free to do that, especially now he's got heavy. Wondering if toxjq's going to even wait a little bit longer or... Yeah, it's down. Good call there from rapha to just take it out.
Yeah, he heard you. You spoiled everything as he took down that totem.
rapha needs to turn his earbuds up. Oh, a nice little bit of entry LG. Unfortunately, misses the rail again, which... a bit of bad news. Rocket does damage, but not enough to take him out. But yeah, we're seeing, it's not 100% consistent rails, which is normally what we're used to seeing. rapha gets hit by one, and he gets a second.
Oh, what a fantastic rail there. Rapha goes for the heavy and actually pins himself in. toxjq taking full advantage, and Raul Rapha is down onto his last champ. Will the German engineering get him back in this round?
Well, we'll have to wait and see. The totem's going to reappear for toxjq, and he's near different cooldown shard, so he's going to be in a good position here regardless. Curious to see how he's going to place it. Okay, yeah. Again, using it just to help the potential fight if he needs to, but doesn't even want to overextend even to try and heal on that. Knows that if he's overstays welcome, but even half a second he was dead there, having like 20 HP left. Does not want to mess with it.
Did do a lot of damage here. No mega for 10 seconds, so toxjq's going to delete that turret there. Try and position for this mega. Rapha, is he going to drop down LG and push as well? Might have a fight here. toxjq spots him out. He's going to might go for this rail. There's one. Ooh, Rapha with a rail of his own and makes toxjq go through that TP, barely escaping. But does have 225s to work with. Also throws down a totem. And Rapha trying to push the advantage here. He's got him trapped, pushing him back out to the back hall.
I really like the way rapha pushes. I feel that there's so much confidence in every choice he decides to make, where even if he's this far down, the second he realizes he needs to go in and make something happen, he's pretty free to do that. You know, now he knows the turret's done a bunch of damage, it's still alive. Now it's been taken out, but toxjq's very, very weak. Needs to retreat, get one of these light armors. I'm assuming it's the plan here, but oh, the perfect read by rapha. He knows exactly where toxjq has to go. But the teleporter is going to save his skin. He has 2 champions up, which is fantastic, seeing as it's less than a minute and a half left until this round is over. This very well could be a timeout.
I thought that was going to be a combo rail there. Good opening rail from toxjq. He's playing this perfectly here. Minute 15 left. All the pressure on Rapha. That defensive rocket is phenomenal, and will give him the information as he escapes out the back hall.
Here we go. Slowing the pace down for another time. 1 minute left. toxjq just kind of needs to do business as usual at this stage. The entry rocket jump is going to be rewarded heavily by a finishing rail, and now it's going to be 1 champion left. This comeback just became significantly more possible, Lion.
Yeah, let's see it. Oh, he's going to catch him out over the tribal. Needs to be careful. The turrets come out, and a quick rocket switch will take him down, and I can't help but feel like toxjq just kind of gave that one up.
Yeah, it was a bit of a sort of a funny area of the map to run into, knowing where rapha was. Now he's going to have a stack. The heavy was just about to spawn. I wonder if the assumption was to almost like spawn in and maybe try and steal it or something like that.
Yeah.
Didn't work, whatever it was.
Well, with 35 or 25 seconds left, Rapha holding this LG is going to grab the mega. Might even be able to get back in on this heavy, but I'm pretty certain players are just going to play for a maybe not so sudden death. toxjq peeks around that corner with the tri-bolt, won't get any damage, but will escape back to the platform. Rapha trying to cut him off for the heavy here, so we're getting closer and closer to sudden death.
That was actually a really frustrating piece of turret to get hit by. Just gave her, it was 15 damage, I think it was, if I could see it right, but rapha essentially just saw, okay, he's over there, I'm now going to take mega. Loop around this half of the map, unfortunately, because the fight went in his favor, rapha using a pretty high rocket jump, which was good actually, trying to make the LG do as little effect as possible just in case it was coming out.
Did take a lot of damage here. Might get a nice rail. Actually uses a machine gun. The tri-ball's pretty good from Toxic, forcing rapha to dance. Here comes the turret.
Really respectable rocket. Toxic is now in a very, very bad position.
Wow.
Speaking of which, rapha is as well now. Both players super weak. And he finally lands the rail he was looking for the entire time. It's 2 rounds up now.
Yeah, interesting repeat. Rapha could have just tried to escape towards rail, but it went for the shot, and Toxic took advantage. And this is a different Tox we're seeing right now.
I think with unfortunately the shots that Toxic has been failing to hit, it would be a fair assumption for rapha to go, you know what, actually, he's been missing his rails all the time. I think I'm going to take this 1v1.
Yeah.
But in that case, at long last, it worked out for Toxic and he landed what he needed to, but a complete mirror start once again. It's going to be Ranger versus Galena. Not too much of a delay, almost completely unnoticeable, only a few seconds between the Mega and Heavy as well.
One thing I love about Rapha, though, even though he's down 2 rounds, he doesn't see it that way. Every round is its own championship round right here. His will to win is absolutely incredible here as he's going to get some speed through that TP. He's going to actually get both items here. Full control of the map as Toxic is just kind of waiting on that blood pool. And Rapha knows something's wrong, doesn't actually check the right way. Dire Orb comes out, a little bit of rocket damage as he's going to chase this. He does have Toxic cornered, and there's the frag.
Perfectly executed there by rapha. Confident to go in there with the Dire Orb, hits the spark, a little bit of entry damage, and then just, you know, business as usual, close range, knowing that it was a perfect time to take a rocket fight. But, you know, to kind of echo what you just said earlier at the start of the round, that, you know, Team Liquid and rapha and Dahang, these guys know what it's like to be on the back foot. Like you said, Ray, he doesn't see it as 2 rounds down. There's always a chance. You know, how many 3-0s today has rapha been able to dish out on Toxic 2 maps in a row? So every round is its own new game to play. And he's not going to get tilted as well. He's not going to get affected by being down, which is such a impressive feat, I think, for a player at this level. Just be unaffected.
Yeah, it's absolutely incredible and a huge advantage if you can just not crack here. There's a little bit of damage coming out. Rapha delaying this Mega, just waiting, pushing out with LG, and then he grabs the Mega halfway through the fight, but the Dire Orb has to come out for the escape as Toxic so strong.
That Dire Orb adjustment, that universal ability cooldown change is going to affect Ranger a little bit heavier than most. That Dire Orb normally having such a generous cooldown ever since the beginning. However, can't quite escape. Now he's been able to get in and out with a Heavy. Doesn't hit the rail, but it was a tight angle to hit. May as well take it. Sometimes the shots are just, you know, why not? Let's just go for it. The entry dual wield, Toxic, pretty confident maybe he could have taken that fight, but it just wasn't the right one to go for. A risk worth taking when he has the rounds to play with, but we said it earlier, right? Every round is a new time to play.
Yeah, I almost feel like that was a little bit of tilt because he took so much damage initially and he popped the ability. He was like, well, I've already kind of committed. Let me just drop. And Rapha takes advantage and puts a round on the board.
But it was the choice to drop as well. I mean, if you're dropping down, that's guaranteed LG for a player like Rapha. Like, you went down there fully knowing that you were probably going to die in that fight. And even if he got the kill, what was he going to do afterwards? He would have been weak as hell.
Yep. Can Rapha do it here? Can he turn this around from 0-2 and take the map and take the series 3-0? He's waiting down by this Mega, just waiting for those sound cues that are so important, as you mentioned. Make his way over and finally say, I need some rockets for this. Let me grab these real quick. Makes his way back over to the Mega. Maybe a little bit of Tribal coming in. Make that a rocket as Toxic nails him. But again, Mega right there, so that damage kind of useless. That totem damage isn't, as he goes right through, but forces Tox off. He will grab the Heavy before he jumps down, though.
Rapha remains with the biggest stack, even after that totem doing its damage. And, you know, those rocket jumps with the Ranger on Blood Run, it's not just his Dire Orb that gives him mobility, it's the fact that, wow, we'll come back to this in a little bit because that was a perfect 1v1 from Rapha, just catching Toxic, going full speed ahead and no time to really react to anything. But yeah, like I was saying, you know, that the passive of Ranger doing less self-damage to himself with rockets and stuff like that just makes those rocket-based movements way more attractive if you're playing as him.
Oh, good rocket. Tox.
Good God.
Rapha dodging bullets here.
Oh my God, how many of these rockets are just going to slip past his face? Good God. That's a really scary sequence, actually. We have the benefit of having really good earphones here where you just heard every single one.
I was ducking in my chair. I was terrified right here.
Same, though. However, Toxic has been unable to sort of re-armor, and that's going to be a bit of a problem for him. especially seeing as Rapha has been hitting some superb rails.
Oh,
And, oh my God, he's got to be dead. Surely the delay on the super shotgun just to make sure he has perfect lining up. Turret can't turn around in time either, and that's now going to be a heavy. This is going from bad to worse for poor old Toxic. 100 damage 2 times in a row. Rapha has brought things back, and it's 1 round each for coming either through for Toxic or Rapha eliminating the boy.
That corner rocket from the banana that popped Toxic up so high was incredible. He did put out a massive amount of damage, but didn't get the frag, and Rapha had 225s to work with, and then catches him out off the spawn, just waiting on that shotgun position.
And what a good call on the rail too. It's actually going to give Rapha a really nice amount of control. That one rail pretty much forced Toxic away. Like, he couldn't fight for either one of those pickups, because if he did, Rapha absolutely would have killed him.
And this is insane because Toxic was up 2 rounds in the driver's seat. Now he's possibly facing elimination here, Ketchup.
Yeah, I feel like Rapha is both, on top of obviously maintaining his incredible accuracy to make these fights super worthwhile, he's kind of like upping the pressure game. We can't really forget that in those first 2 rounds, Rapha was he was being careful, but he was falling victim to a couple of ambushes from Toxic. That's just not happening anymore. Rapha seems to be a lot more careful in every corner he's taking.
Waiting. I think he senses Rapha might go through there, but nowhere to be found yet, as it looks like he's making his way up to the banana and tri-bolt area.
If Toxic's trying to get some prediction, actually, unfortunately, Rapha is nowhere near where Toxic thinks he might be. And Rapha's the same, for those that don't know, walking eliminates noise during movement, so, that's important on Blood Run, where, again, audio is such an important factor.
Good rocket there from Rapha. He gets the information. He won't get the mega, but now he knows exactly where Toxic is and has that LG out just waiting. Toxic gets a little bit of a tickle, but the heavy goes to Rapha. And I like this. Toxic actually is getting some totems going here. He'll have overstack shortly on the next one if his totems survive, but Rapha might be able to catch him out here in the back hall. 65 damage on that rocket. He's going to eat a little bit more as he tries to escape, but there it is. That totem's gone immediately.
Very tense times here for Toxic. This could be the round that sends him out of the tournament first thing in the morning here in Sweden.
Rough morning. Must be a Monday.
Almost. We're 1 day short. Oh no, the perfect catch from Rapha. Perfect execution on the heavy. He knows that Toxic was going to go for it, and he takes the bait. Wow.
Pushes in and says, I have a dire orb here, catch this. Toxic didn't play dodgeball growing up, apparently, as Rapha gets that frag. Looking good. Still 3 minutes left. Toxic needs to be very careful. Absolutely not out of the realm of possibilities to get this refrag here.
Rapha at the very least has the understanding here. The turret gets dropped near teleporter, which is going to be pretty obvious it's going to be there as we come through, so he's got to watch out for that one. However, Toxic not really too worried about trying to fight for this heavy. Almost every time he's gone for the heavy, he's been caught out and put in a terrible position, so I just don't see him trying to either, unless he thinks it's guaranteed, trying to fight for it again.
Yeah, he's almost exclusively conceding heavy, it feels like. His 23 heavies for Rapha, only 7 for Toxic. Might get caught out at LG. Actually, the turret will give away his position. This could be horrible here. Rapha just deletes the turret, and Toxic jumps away up the trampoline. Surviving for the moment. 3 minutes in, the rail from Rapha's good, as Toxic will miss his initial rail, and here comes the push. Rapha knows that he has the damage. He doesn't overextend, though, which is important, but he does leave the items up. Rapha's so good at this here. Catches him out, and he's just going to dire orb back in. A little bit of LG and takes him out. Rapha looking really strong. 1 frag away from advancing in this dual tournament.
He's reading Toxic like a book. He deliberately waited on heavy, didn't bother taking it, opted to press the advantage instead. He knows Toxic has to try. If he's giving up heavy, he's still going to want armor, right? Surely he's got to go to the light, and he was on the money perfectly.
It was fantastic play. Rapha's so good at that, just knowing when, I don't need this item, I'm going to go push the advantage, and just always hitting his mark.
I'm going to take the one item he wants to take.
This is mine, these are mine. He's kind of a bully, actually.
Bit of a jerk move, really, isn't it?
Yeah. I'll have a talk with him later here as he goes through the portal. A little bit of tri-bolt here. So Toxic tries to stay alive. He's dancing around on that platform. The dire orb comes out to secure the heavy. And is this going to be it? Is Rapha going to push the advantage here? He drops down, misses that rail.
That would have been bad news for Toxic. Dare I say a guaranteed kill, because Rapha would have 100% gone in. And if it's BJ with no dual wield, of which the dual wield has served absolutely no purpose almost the entire series, unfortunately, Rapha hits the rail, puts him in a fantastic position. No need to chase, probably just head him off instead. rocket ammo. He's going to need that as he comes through now. No armor for Tox. This could be game
Surely
over, and
that's
it will be. Another day in the office. Rapha is going to eliminate Toxic incredibly dominantly. It's unfortunate to see him go this early, but come on, this is Rapha we're talking about.
Yeah, that's got to hurt, though. Up 2-0, and the sweep from Rapha on the comeback. That was a great play, turning that around, taking the series. But, I mean, Toxic made it pretty far. It's nothing to shake a stick at, as they say.
Yeah, I mean, getting top 8 in both game modes. He was a top 8 in duel, grand finals in the 2v2 yesterday. He can end this tournament with his head held high. He has the, I think the real honor of being in the grand finals for 2 Dreamhacks in a row. Yep. We saw him in the duel grand finals against Dahang last year. Unfortunately, he is unable to at least repeat that this year, but Rapha has been on just such a tear in duel as well that unfortunately it was, Rapha was the favorite to win that.
Yeah, I mean, after PGL, like I said, he just wants to win them all. So he's kind of a bully, he's kind of a ball hog. But analysts, what did you see?
Rapha was awake this morning, obviously.
Definitely.
And, it pains me to say it, but I got to say that Toxic was not.
Well, I mentioned earlier that I've never seen Rapha in such great form mechanically, and you could see some of that in the games, especially in Blood Covenant early on when he really was just dominant with Athena for the most part. Other than that one round, you could tell Toxic got really tentative, was walking a lot, was looking for any kind of sound cue to pick up Rapha. I could tell he was very much affecting him, and on Nath, he looked completely lost. And then some critical errors on Blood Run really cost him.
You're right. At the beginning of Blood Covenant, it was very much, you've got Athena, you've got Slash, and there was a little bit of Toxic going, how does this matchup work? Like, I'm fast, but he can, and then it was, you could see kind of the wires kind of getting crossed there a little bit, and I think that was effective, or affecting his rail accuracy a little bit.
Tox just really wasn't ready for that, but looks like we're gonna get some top 3 plays in the background, but Tox just really wasn't ready for that. One of the things I really liked when Rapha played Athena was that at the very start, he would just go in, cross the map, and he would steal Tox his small armor and just say,
the initial aggression there was just crazy the whole way, and that was very much a very, execution-heavy map.
Yeah.
Veil was, well, it didn't last very long. There was definitely a lockdown there. Rapha certainly just taking Toxic out hand over fist, especially with that turret placement, getting really, really nasty and cerebral. But Blood Run